I'm V, and I'm on a mission to keep on progressing as a guitar player and stay out of those guitar ruts. I had a comment on one of my videos just asking for a breakdown around CAGED, so here we are. But a quick disclaimer first, I'm certainly not a pro, I'm just a curious learner who's, today I'll just share what's been working for me. Today I'll give you a high level of what the CAGED system is all about, how it's been a bit of a game changer for how I visualize the fretboard, and I'll also give you a couple of examples of how it's kind of clicked for me. So what is CAGED? So to start off with, CAGED is, it's really CAGED, which really stands for the shapes on the fretboard. So the C chord, if we think about the open chords, the C chord, so C, that's the C in the CAGED system, the A, the G, and the D. So really what the CAGED system is about is using that knowledge around the open chords and using that to move it all across the fretboard. So for example, let's use the key of C. You can see the first chord is this one, the C. If we were then to take the A shape, which you see here, and let's imagine that this nut is the fretboard, is where your finger would be for a bar chord, and we just move that up the neck to where the root note of the C is. So C of the CAGED, A of the CAGED, it's the same chord, the C chord. We then take the G, so the G, if you think root note is here, here, but also down here as well. So if we think of the note of the C, it's up here. I can't play that as a chord because I can't stretch that far, but you get the gist. So that's the G. And then the E, if you think of over here, if I was to turn that into a bar chord using the nut as where my first finger would be, and again I just move that up, the root note is here, that's the E shape. And then the final one, D, the root note here, so that's the D of the D shape. This one here is the C of the D shape. And then we're back to the C shape again. So really what the CAGED system is all about is it's using your knowledge of the open chords, putting them all over the fretboard so that you can play any chord anywhere on the fretboard. So I guess, why do I love CAGED and how has it helped me become a better player, or I think a better player anyway, it's helping me. And then also how is it helping me to visualize the fretboard? So I guess the first thing, there's really 4 things that I was thinking about around how it's really helped me. The first thing is visualizing the fretboard. Just as I showed you before, you can really see all across the fretboard where, for example, if I wanted to play an A, I could play it up here in the E shape if I wanted to. I could play it up here, which is the same as down here, for example. So I could start playing stuff all over the fretboard. If I wanted to do the D, for example, I could play it up here. In the E shape, it's down here as well. Play it up here in the A shape, for example. Or I could play it here, it's a bit of a stretch, in the C shape. The G shape again, I can't really do. It's a bit of a stretch, so I can't really play that one in position. So it's something like that. So actually being able to see and visualize that over the fretboard is really cool. So when I'm choosing a chord progression or trying to think about how I want to play something, I don't have to just play the open chords. I can play it anywhere else on the fretboard if I wanted to. The next thing is being able to see scale patterns and how scale patterns actually connect across the fretboard. So let's go back to the C major again, and let's start with this A shape. So I know that the scale pattern there, and I'll just use the pentatonic scale there. So, and I can, again, what's really important is visualizing the chord across it. So I can see the chord. I can see the scale pattern for the pentatonic scale there. Same thing, I can see the, so that's that. So there's the G shape, and that one is that one there. That's the G shape, the E shape, you can see that one there, and again visualizing the E shape, and then the D. There, and then back to the C shape. So I can see that as well. But then what's really cool is I can see how they actually connect together. So for example, with this A shape, we've got that C an octave up. So we've got one pattern here, which is the E shape, and then you've got the G shape pattern here, and then you've got the E shape pattern here. So you can actually see where it starts to connect, not just up and down in the actual scale patterns, but all across the fretboard instead. So for example, if I started here, I could even go. It's not very musical, but you can see how, what I mean there about you can actually see just all the connections across the fretboard, and instead of playing up and down a scale pattern, you can play across a scale pattern, different scale patterns instead. So then the third thing that has been really useful for me is trying to make music out of it. So what I've been really enjoying lately is trying to mix up the chords and the scale patterns together. So I'm still pretty fresh at this. I'm still learning the ropes around this, but it's been really fun. So for example, let's use a very standard 12-bar blues. We'll use a minor, so A minor. Now the interesting thing I'll just mention here is the C, G shape is there. And you might recognize that from the A minor pentatonic. That's because they're relative. So the A minor is the minor relative to a C major and vice versa. And that's really cool to know because it just means that you can actually apply the C major scale pattern to an A minor and vice versa. So they're the same notes in the scale, they're just starting from a different position. So for the C major, the A minor is actually the sixth of the 7 notes in the C major, and for the A minor, the C is actually the flat, the flattened third. So it's actually the third in the pentatonic scale, in the minor scale out of the 7 notes. So really cool to know. All right, so back to it. So the A minor, let's take that, and we play the D minor, and we will go up to the E minor as well, or whatever. So what's really cool about this is I could choose to play A minor here, I could choose to play a D minor here, but I could also choose to play the D minor up here as well if I wanted to. So that unlocks quite a lot of different things with it as well. So for example, I could play the pentatonic scale over that. Well, I could use the pentatonic scale for this one, for that chord. Or I could go up to here and use the same pattern, because you can see here that this is the E shape for the D, which is the same, the pentatonic scale there for that. So let's give you a quick example. Let's see how this goes. I might have to record it a couple of times. All right, so, and by the way, I won't play it like that. I'll play it like that with the thumb over the top, just because I find it more fun. Go up to the D here. So what I was doing there is, again, playing the pentatonic scale there, playing the D up here, back to the A minor, back to the E minor, and this is the D minor again, but just in a different position. And here we've got the D minor pentatonic scale as well. So when I'm playing that, I can pick notes within that scale, that pentatonic scale, rather than the A major. So I can say choose to call out that one. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun when now that I'm thinking about it and trying to figure out how I can kind of incorporate scales with chords, which is a lot of fun, or triads, or whatever it might be. All right, so that leads me to the fourth thing. The final thing is, you can see, it's allowing me to be more creative. So that's just an example of kind of how I've been playing around with it. The second thing that I've been doing is I've been using it to kind of help me understand songs a little bit better. Let me just get this out of the way. So I use the example of A Wind Cries Mary. But let's get to, so it looks like he's playing a lot of different chords and stuff like that, but he's actually only really playing, I think, 3 or 4 chords, but just in different positions. So, this is really just B flat, B, C, chromatically kind of stepping up. And then when he's playing this one, that's really just F, F sharp, G. So he's really just playing that combination of chords all throughout the song, just again in different positions. So when we get to this part here, so he's just kind of mixing it up. So for example, there's that he plays, but he also plays it up here as well. So again, this is the E shaped, but he plays it like this. So you can see that he, I'm sure he's not thinking of the CAGED system or anything like that, but when you're kind of breaking down the song using the CAGED system and trying to visualize the chords across the fretboard using it, for me anyway, it's just helped me to understand it more. The other part that's really cool is, back to this one. You can see here that, I go back to the A shape here, the scale pattern is that. Now when we look at the B, the B flat, sorry, B flat's up here. So you can actually see there's a relationship there because these chords are kind of like being played. They're the same shared chords in the pentatonic scale. So you can see him sometimes, and I don't do it very well, but so you can see him mucking around with that instead of just kind of going. And it's the same down here. So here you can see there's a E shape. So scale pattern is. So there's something else he does kind of up here, where he's using these positions. So the E shape. So it's the E shape of the C, E shape of the B flat, and again the pentatonic scale. And he's taking a few chords, a few notes out of that. So he's taking, and that is just out of that's out of the scales shapes for the C major and the B flat major. So it's quite cool. So that's an example of kind of how I've been applying that knowledge of the CAGED and, where I can see the scale patterns to a song, which is pretty cool. So that's, I guess, my take on CAGED as someone who's relatively new to understanding the fretboard and how to visualize it. For me personally, I found that CAGED was something that's really eye-opening for me. So I love it. It's not, other people use other things like the pattern system or whatever it might be. The understanding pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 just never really stuck for me. The CAGED system has, so I guess it's whatever works for you. A couple of tips probably I do have for which I fell in a bit of a trap with. One of the key tips I think is, definitely for myself, I found that getting my head around kind of where all the patterns were and getting them under my fingers was really important. But I fell into a trap of when I was trying to improvise or trying to play around stuff, I was trying to play everywhere. So that probably will be, if I had a tip or if I was going to give a tip for myself, I would say to myself, try and get it under your fingers, but focus on, just focus on trying to get your head around, maybe 1 or 2 at a time, and then try and kind of turn those 1 or 2 into something musical. So that's probably the tip I would have for myself if I was to retry learning all of this again, is to try and apply it. For example, just taking a lick or something and just seeing where it kind of falls in each of the, in other areas of the fretboard, but not kind of overcomplicating it with too many notes or anything like that. Just seeing kind of how it sounds or how it fits to try and help solidify that navigation. I'm still working on trying to make it musical and trying not to overcomplicate it by trying all the chords. But so that's probably tip number 1. Tip number 2, I would say, is, and this is something I learned off the pickup music pathway when I was following it, is when I'm learning it, don't just try and learn the scale patterns, actually learn make sure I am very conscious of what the chord is that kind of fits over top that. So whether it's a chord or a triad or whatever you want to use, but try and visualize the actual chord combination on top of it. So again, don't just go, my tip would be don't just go, this is that's the A minor pentatonic. I would go A minor pentatonic, and here is the A minor chord. You've got a triad, for example, there as well. Just got the 3 there. So try and visualize all of that kind of stuff would be my other tip as well. So if you're new to theory and you're trying to make sense of the fretboard like I am, I certainly would recommend CAGED. I really liked it. And again, it's been a bit of a game changer for me. Thanks for watching. If this helped, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.